Wednesday evening listeners. Good Wednesday evening listeners. And welcome to my YouTube channel, Conversations of a Sister, here on YouTube. I thank you for tuning in tonight for tonight's conversation. And tonight's conversation is this country is on fire. The country is on fire simply because of the current administration's immigration policies. People are pissed and they are taking it to the streets because of the current administration's immigration policies. I don't think that's just it. I think that there are a number of things as to the reason why people are frustrated and taking it to the streets. One is you have ICE agents snatching people up off the street, mothers, fathers, students, children, and they are rushing them into unmarked vans. They have masks on their face and people are being taken to undisclosed locations. They're saying that the conditions are dire. People are not eating. It's almost like it's just gangster. So everyone is saying that these ICE agents are just the gangster. They're militia groups that were hired by Trump. A lot of people believe that they are January Sixers that are working for this administration in order to do the dirty work of rounding up immigrants off the streets. I think that there is a lot of chaos going on, period. You have the Trump administration going at the colleges. You have the Trump administration going at the media. You have a lot of these news anchors afraid to report and say certain things regarding the administration. Kudos to those reporters who are traveling with him and inside the White House and are brave enough to ask certain questions. I saw a video the other week wherein I think it was a Wall Street Journal reporter who asked him a question. It was something about his immigration policies, and he said to him, "What people are you from?" He goes, "Oh, the Wall Street Journal. You're a nasty paper. No wonder your paper is failing. No wonder you're just failing as a paper. It's just a nasty paper. You people never write or print the right things about." He just attacked this journalist because the journalist asked the hard question. So when you ask the hard questions, it's almost like he can't handle it. So I know that he's attacking journalists. He's attacking attorneys. You have a lot of law firms that are bending the knee, as they would say, bending the knee to the Trump administration. You have the Trump administration violating the Constitution. They're violating the rule of law, and they are after people's fundamental rights to freedoms. So you have people taking it to the streets. And I know the latest is this $45 million parade has being thrown on Saturday in the guise of celebrating the Army's birthday, when in fact it's really Donald Trump's birthday. So there are military tanks that are arriving in the streets of DC as we speak. They are going to tear up the streets of DC, and it is going to cost taxpayers money to foot this bill. So people are pissed. People are angry. People are frustrated. People are fed up. And on top of that, you have federal workers losing their jobs. You have Doge, who was just granted access to our social security data, and we never know. We don't know how our security or our information has been breached. So people are fed up to here with this administration. So they are taking it to the streets. They are taking it to the streets to defend their neighbors. They are taking it to the streets to defend their coworkers. People want to defend those immigrants who are being targeted. Because in the beginning, I believe I heard, I don't know, because I didn't listen to Trump's rhetoric when he was running for president. But word on the street is that he was going after those immigrants who were criminals. That's who he was going after. And he's not doing that. Instead, he's going after the average immigrant who's here on working visas, who are working to better their lives, which is why they came to this country. for the betterment of a life. And now these are the individuals that he's going after. There's no holes barred. And it is more than about criminals, it is about average citizens. I know that he wants to get the rights and the privilege to snatch up citizens and deport them, if he will. This big, beautiful bill that he's talking about is hidden with a lot of dangers and a lot of laws that would give him precedent to to rules of law that is against our own constitution and our very freedoms. So when you have these protesters in the streets, I'm not surprised, because I think that this whole ICE raid immigration is the icing on the cake. I think that people are fundamentally fed up with the Trump administration. And just to think, we are only what, 6 months in, with 3 more years to go. Oh my God, listeners, I am so sorry. I have my girlfriend calling me, not realizing that I'm on the air, and I need to tell her that I'm on the air. I'll usually um I'll usually put my phone on mute, and I guess I logged on and I forgot to. So I sincerely apologize for that. I know that things happen, and this just so happened to interrupt my conversation, but I'm back. As I was stating, this country is on fire, and I think that our democracy and our freedoms are on the line simply because President Trump ignited the situation in California that didn't need to be ignited. It's like he stoked the flames of an already volatile situation and absolutely made it worse, because on top of that, he deployed the National Guard's troops and Pete Signalgate Hexath, whatever his name is, he deployed all of these Marines. So now you have Marines and National Guardsmen sitting in California. That's more than we have Marines and Guardsmen sitting in Afghanistan. And it's simply not necessary. And I think that I heard the mayor today say that they're not needed because they're on a federal level, that their police officers can handle the situation. We know people in California. When I say we, me, my relatives, my friends, we know people in California, and what's going on in LA is only going on in certain areas. And I know where the protests broke out, where people started defending those immigrants, it happened in a small section of LA, I believe it's called Paramount, California. And Governor Newsom said that he didn't need force. He didn't need the National Guards, and he didn't need the Marines. But of course, Donald Trump did it because it's simply about power. And just like he did it there, he'll do it in all 54 states if necessary. Because again, this is about control, power, and a wannabe dictatorship. And I think that the reason why people are taking it to the streets is because they're tired. The reason why this country is on fire is because people are tired. And I said it. I said it throughout the campaign. I said it throughout the campaign that another Trump presidency would mean chaos. Chaos, protests, and an incompetent administration. And that's exactly what we have, because we have RFK Jr., who has canceled vaccine mandates, and those scientists who was working on them, uh, these vaccines had to be out and ready for individuals to have vaccine shots. I believe it was by December of 2025. And because he's fired all of these scientists, that's just not going to happen. So it's like people will be left in limbo regarding vaccines. I know that I don't even think now that it would be safe to take a vaccine, because you don't know, where it's coming from, how it was derived, with this administration. People were already on edge about the COVID vaccine. So taking a vaccine under this administration, I don't think that it would be advised. So, with the world being on fire, the one thing that has agitated me is that while I am on social media, engaging in conversation, engaging in what is happening throughout the country, there are a lot of people saying, I don't understand what the problem is. Barack Obama deported over 3 million immigrants. So I don't understand what the problem is. Barack Obama did the same thing. That is all that I am hearing. First of all, you cannot compare Barack Obama's presidency with Donald J. Trump. There's absolutely no comparison. There is even no comparison in the vocabulary or the intelligence or the education because I don't think that Donald Trump can even formulate a complete sentence. Everything is very, very big, very, very small. Everything is very, 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 very big. Well, he's a terrible person. He talked about Gavin Newsom uh, just as like he was talking to himself. He said he's done a terrible job as governor. Really? I really thought that that was the kettle calling the pot when I heard that comment. It's like, really? It sounds like a little bit of envy there, just like he envies Barack Obama. And I guess we know that he envies Barack Obama. Hell, half of Congress probably do, is because they have rolled back every African American policy history that can be said or done or heard or learned about in these United States of America. That's the first thing he did was undo everything that benefited anyone of color. But yet you will have people of color swearing up and down that Donald Trump did more for black people than Barack Obama. I don't know who did more, but I know who's doing more of the dismantling and the undoing of basic rights of people in need. He canceled aid to AIDS victims in foreign countries. He's what? Banned over 15 to 20 countries coming into the United States. Maybe it was 15 to 20 countries, a lot of them being of African descent. He falsely accused the African president of apartheid simply to justify his reasoning for bringing in apartheid farmers when his accusations that they were unfounded. Come on. The list goes on of these atrocities, and we won't even start with the corruption and the undoing of the Constitution. Look at Garcia, Abrego Garcia. He was finally brought back to the United States, right? Because the Supreme Court voted, I think it was 7-2, to bring him back. A judge ruled it that he had to come back, and the Trump administration wasn't moving. But all of a sudden, we got word that Carlos Abrego Garcia was on his way back to the U.S. to stand charges. And the charges are trumped up charges, by the way. They accused him of human trafficking because a video surfaced of a traffic stop from maybe 2 years ago, I think they said. And they accused him because he had maybe 7 to 12 people in a car. The Trump administration is accusing him of human trafficking. The attorney general, I don't know if he's in Tennessee, but the attorney general of wherever he was going resigned because he said that the charges were politically motivated. Because, of course, the administration is not going to say, well, we made a mistake. Let's bring Abrego back, Mr. Garcia back, because we made a mistake. You know, at the request of the Supreme Court, we are bringing him back. No, he's coming back to face trumped up charges because they got to pin something on him after they've said that he was a criminal, he was a part of the MS-13 gang, although we could all see that it was airbrushed on his knuckles because nowadays you have AI and AI can create everything. And unless you are computer savvy and you know these programs, you're not going to be able to tell when something is AI. But you have to be kind of like out of the loop entirely to not know, because you could tell that MS-13 across his knuckles was doctored. It was doctored on, because with AI you can change anything, and that's what they did to his photo. And they passed it around and they circled it around as if there was truth to it. So Mr. Garcia is back on U.S. soil, but he is facing criminal charges of human trafficking. And do you know who the people were that was in the van that he was driving? They were co-workers that he had picked up for work. You know the thing called carpooling that people do, especially people who are new to an area or new to a job and want to save on gas and toll and all those other things that come with the expense of commuting to work. So they carpool. That's simply what Mr. Garcia was doing. He was carpooling coworkers. But the Trump administration said that it was human trafficking. There's a lot of hate and disdain for immigrants. A lot. People basically hate the fact that they get help from the government, and they feel like it's help that they should not be getting. Because after all, they're immigrants. They say that we have people in this country who are struggling. It's not easy to get loans and houses, as an American citizen, but they've made it easy for immigrants. So therefore, people hate immigrants. I hate no one. I do believe what's fair is fair. I do believe that if you are going to deport anyone because of any type of criminal activity, due process is a constitutional right, especially when immigrants are here on visas. Due process is a constitutional right. Have you heard of process? Do you even know what due process is? Because Barack Obama may have deported over 3 million immigrants, but he did it lawfully, and he did it under due process. Come on. Come on. Can you imagine if Barack Obama was doing some of the things that Donald Trump is doing in office today? Can you imagine if Barack Obama had violated the Constitution over and over and over again? Do you know what Republicans would be saying? Can you imagine if Barack Obama accepted a gift of what? 25 million, 45 million airplane that they call a castle in the sky? Can you imagine if the first black president of these United States of America had accepted such a gift? He would have been impeached by now. I'm sure that Congress would have roped him in and hung him with that very rope. The hypocrisy of the current administration is not only laughable, but it's appalling. Think about it. So, Donald Trump called in the National Guards right away because of a little protest in Los Angeles. And he called in the National Guard by force. Why did he call in the National Guards on January 6th? Why didn't he deploy the Marines on January 6th when we had a mob invade the Capitol? So he talked about the crowd in LA, how he saw a car on fire. He even said they were looting. I don't think any of that happened. I think if it did, it was because of other people, but not the protesters, because that's what I heard in California. It was agitators. I don't think they were paid agitators, but it was agitators who took advantage of a situation. But let's get back to January 6th. How come Donald Trump did not call in the National Guards then. How come he didn't call in the Marines? After all, the insurrectionists who invaded the Capitol, they spreaded feces all over the rotunda. They defecated on the walls. They urinated throughout the halls, all to stop a legal election. But I guess the reason why Donald Trump didn't call in the National Guards then is because that was to his benefit. The crowd, the mob, was chanting, hang Mike Pence. They wanted to kill Mike Pence. They even bought the replica of a rope to the Capitol because they wanted to hang Mike Pence. No National Guards were called. The Marines were not called. Fast forward today, Donald Trump is back in office. You want to know why? Because Congress never stopped him. Mitch McConnell at the time, who was Speaker of the Republican House, he never stopped him. He never stopped him. Donald Trump should have never even been allowed on the ballot. So the reason why we are dealing with the hypocrisy of the Trump administration is because you have a president who think he's a dictator, who think he is all powerful and is coming for our democracy and is coming for our freedoms. Because after all, peaceful protests is the constitutional rights of every American. That is your constitutional right to protest. And no one is supposed to stop it. And calling out the Marines and the National Guards against its own people is not the oath that they have taken. And giving and throwing a $45 million parade when you've cut funds to veterans and fired federal employees by the thousands and cut back on so many programs because of waste and fraud spending, throwing a $45 million parade with tanks and overflyers and bombs, that's not a waste. I'm sure that if we are thinking about waste and fraud, there was other ways to celebrate the Marines or the Army instead of throwing a $45 million parade on the wallets of the taxpayers. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. And there will be protests on Saturday in Washington, D.C. There are several groups and organizations who will be protesting this parade. And Donald Trump knows it. He's talking about, oh, if there are protests, I don't know anything about it. Of course he does. Of course he does. He has a chief of staff who's orchestrating the whole thing. Of course they know about protests. If he didn't think it was going to be protests, he wouldn't be having large fences put up all around the routes. Large fences are being put up. They are so high. I think they almost reach the tippy top of the White House because he knows that people are going to protest. He knows that people are pissed. And no, it's not just the Democrats. And no, it's not just the Republicans. It's everybody. It's the Dems, it's the Republicans, it's the independent, it's the left, it's the right, it's the ups, it's the downs, it's the blacks, it's the whites, it's the Hispanics, it's the Asians, every nationality. You pick them and they're pissed. They're all pissed behind what is taking place in this country. Be not dismayed and don't be fooled because people are taking it to the streets. And that is why this country is on fire. So please, when I hear people trying to compare this current administration to Barack Obama's administration, please don't do so because Barack Obama had class, Barack Obama had tact, Barack Obama was educated. Barack Obama hired competent people with degrees and doctorates and the education to run the departments that they ran and to head the Army, the Navy, the Marines in this country with dignity. He hired 5 and 4 star generals, not reality TV people, not reality TV actors. I just read the other day that the person that's going to oversee Trump's immigration something something is a former grocery worker. So he picks the average person off the street. And I'm not putting people down for what they do. But if you don't have the criteria to do a job, you're not going to do that job well. You're just not going to because you don't have the criteria to do it. So when we talk about Obama's administration versus this current administration, there is no comparison. None whatsoever. Because Barack Obama did not move the way this current administration is moving. Please read the history on it. Oh, Barack Obama deported people. Oh, Barack Obama deported more people. And maybe Trump is trying to bypass Barack Obama's record. But if you want to take anything out of Barack Obama's playbook, Barack Obama had class. By golly, the man was crucified when he wore a tan suit. He couldn't do anything right as president of the United States. When you see Michelle Obama in braids today, that's because she couldn't wear braids the entire 8 years that she was in the White House because she didn't want to hear the criticism. So trust me, the Obamas walked a tight rope because they were black. Because as dark people, this is what we have to do. We have to go above and beyond so that we meet these different criterias that are set up by society in order to be president and first lady of the United States. To this day, Michelle Obama is still mocked. They still talk about him. It's hard for people to believe that they are a successful African American couple who are married, who are in love, who have individual lives that they can live. He goes one way, she goes another way. Oh my God, they're getting a divorce. Where's Michelle? Where's Michelle? Where's Melania? Nobody's asking about melanoma. Where's she? They're not saying, oh my God, are her and Trump getting a divorce? No. They're not saying that about them. And you never see her with Donald Trump. So really? You're going to come for Michelle Obama? Leave the Obamas out of this current mess because there's no comparison. Barack Obama did everything by the book because he had to. Trust me, if he didn't, they were coming for him. And what we are seeing now with white supremacy in the White House and white supremacy taking over the country and white supremacy popping up is because people are angry. People are mad because we had 8 years of a Barack Obama presidency. So this is why policies are being turned back. And this is why we're dealing with the hypocrisy of the current administration. It is nothing less than that. You could trust and believe it. So please stop with what Barack Obama did because there's no comparison to the circus that we have in Washington today. Protest if you want. You have that right. Do it peacefully and do it orderly. Don't give him a reason to call martial law. Don't give him a reason to add more to his crown of a wannabe dictator. Just don't do it. Don't fall into the playbook of this administration. Sometimes when you want to beat a devil, you got to beat them at their own game. And the only way to do that is to do it in a way that they don't know. And how do they not know? They don't know of decency or order because there is no decency and order with this administration. It's just pure T chaos. Fear, stoking fear. So you got to be courageous and you have to be fearless and you have to do things decently and you want to do them in order because that is the only way that we will survive the next 3.5 years. Gosh, it's only been 6 months and already I'm exhausted. So I can't imagine how everyone else feels about what is happening throughout this country. Stay prayerful with whatever your beliefs are. Stay courageous. Be bold. Act boldly. Act wisely. But at the same time, do it decently and in order. I wish you well. For those who are going to Washington, be careful. Be safe. Travel well. And I'll see you next week on Conversations of a Sister, where I'm sure the conversations will continue. Have a good night.